Welcome back. It's now my pleasure to welcome in our next guest. That's Kyle Chassé, the chairman of MV Global and the founder of the Paid Network, to discuss the ramifications of this recent executive order out of the president, basically paving the way, from my understanding, Kyle, of allowing crypto and a few other assets potentially to find their way into retirement portfolios. What do you make of sort of that announcement and kind of what the fallout might be?
Thanks, Alex, for having me. It was a big one. It was a really big one. 37% of the S&P or the stocks sit in retirement accounts. So even if a fraction of that finds its way into our precious Bitcoin and Ethereum, we could see hundreds of billions of dollars come into the market over the next couple years. And I think a lot of that even sooner than later.
And so there's also kind of the fallout too, I would say, where some of these assets maybe were not necessarily restricted, but in some ways tougher for the everyday person to get access to, particularly if most of their investable capital was in retirement accounts. So there's sort of that democratization of finance. That's the fallout here, which I know is one of the things that those who are really proponents of digital assets from the beginning really kind of like this idea of this decentralization of finance. And when you look at sort of the perhaps legitimization of the space in recent months with all of the different regulations coming down, this democratization of finance, combined with this whole new potential investor base of capital that could find their way into these assets, it feels like this could be that next leg up kind of catalyst.
Definitely, it could be a huge catalyst. I mean, it inevitably will be a big catalyst because the demand is there. The reason that they're bringing these products to the market is because people want them. And like you rightfully said, it has been harder to access for a lot of people. For people who are new to the space, self-sovereignty or buying crypto is a complicated task.
As you look at sort of the additional kind of things within this space and kind of where things are going, there's been lots of conversation around stable coins and the disruption of perhaps traditional financial networks. And I'm wondering your thoughts on that, as it doesn't necessarily have to be Bitcoin, doesn't have to be Ethereum and these as assets that we invest in, but just really what the technology can do to maybe drive down margins and make, just the cost of doing business cheaper.
100%. Well, I think that you just briefly showed a clip there of Trump earlier, and he came out and said just recently that the U.S. traditional financial system is decades behind where it needs to be. And this is part of what his thing was, kind of with Doge and everything else, is getting the U.S. infrastructure modernized and up to traditional or to modern standards. And this blockchain infrastructure, which is now what a lot of traditional infrastructure companies are upgrading to, will significantly help things like clearing, settlements, cross-border payments, spreads, market trading times. We're looking at a lot of people looking at extending the time that we can trade to, from just Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 or whatever, till 7 days a week. So this is a huge upgrade, blockchain infrastructure, to the traditional financial network.
Kyle, final question for you. For those who have been skeptical and, didn't follow the plan that you laid out for your family member, they've been a little bit more hesitant to get involved, and they maybe watched friends or family or other people they know take advantage of some of these, extraordinary moves, and they feel like, oh, I missed it. What's your word to them? Have they missed it, or is it still potentially early days on what this and where this is ultimately going?
I think this is very early days. And I think for anyone who's sitting on the sidelines and maybe felt like they missed it, you don't have to go in all, and you don't have to make a decision that's black or white. You don't have to take all of your, your hard-earned cash and put it in something that's a volatile asset like Bitcoin or Ethereum right now. But if you don't put something in, you're not going to be in the game, and you're not going to understand what it's like. You're not going to be watching the price of it. You're not going to be as emotionally invested. So my suggestion, and of course not financial advice, is for someone to start that journey with whatever they're comfortable with and watch it over time. I think that Bitcoin still has a lot of room to grow over the next 20 years or so. So that's a long time horizon. And my personal opinion is that it still has another 100x left in it. I think that Bitcoin goes over the next 20 years to $10 million plus.
We'll see where it all goes. I'm excited to see the future. Kyle Chassé, I appreciate it and you taking the time here, the chairman of MV Global and the founder of the Paid Network.